This is the weird thing that it's all coming to now, because I see they get divorced, so I'm like, okay, well, I feel bad for their kids. Obviously, everybody saw that coming from a mile away because Tom, is a greedy little troll, and he can't stop touring. Can't keep your marriage alive if you're not there. It ceases to be a relationship. And your kids just miss you. I don't know how you could do that. And then, he could have toured an amount where he made like 10 million a year instead of, 80 million. Have you ever heard of someone like in therapy or who is an addict? Or someone who just can't stand their father and they're like, fuck him, he never made 80 million in a year. But just from afar, I saw that coming from a million miles away. This might be a compliment to him if you say this to his face. He's a psychopath. He's like a great white shark. He doesn't feel anything. And that's why he's so successful. Because he doesn't care about anybody. No one exists except for him. He got to a certain amount of money and he probably exacerbated it. He probably became even colder. Yeah. Enjoy hell, retard.
So, since Tom Segura and Christina P. have filed for divorce, everyone has strong feelings about what the cause may be, including myself, and I gotta say, I think Ben Avery had the best take yet on it. He kind of just cuts through all the bullshit and calls it like he sees it, that Tom is an unfeeling, money-grubby machine, so of course his marriage didn't work out. Take a look.
This is the weird thing that it's all coming to now, because I see they get divorced, so I'm like, okay, well, I feel bad for their kids. Obviously, everybody saw that coming from a mile away because Tom, is a greedy little troll and he can't stop touring. You can't keep your marriage alive if you're not there. It ceases to be a relationship. And your kids just miss you. I don't know how you could do that. And then people go, well, he made he could have toured an amount where he made like 10 million a year instead of, 80 million. I've never heard anybody growing up who was like, I hate my dad because he didn't make $80 million. Have you ever heard of someone like in therapy or who is an addict? Or someone who just can't stand their father and they're like, fuck him, he never made 80 million in a year. He never owned a Rolex Submariner or whatever it is. He's obsessed with watches. Fuck my dad. He never had every color that there was of the 1965 Chevy Corvette. I wish I knew rich guy stuff so I could list rich guy stuff, but yeah, I had a pretty good childhood, I guess. I mean, my dad could have toured more, made another 8 or 9 million a year, but I mean, I guess he doesn't love me, actually. So, I mean, obviously, I haven't watched any of the YouTube video essays breaking this down. Maybe I'm completely off. But just from afar, I saw that coming from a million miles away. I mean, Tom's no offense to him or whatever. I guess this might be a compliment to him if you say this to his face. But he's a psychopath. He's like a great white shark. He doesn't feel anything. That's why he's so successful. Because he doesn't care about anybody. No one exists except for him. He got to a certain amount of money and he probably exacerbated it. He probably became even colder. But anyway, yeah. Enjoy hell, retard.
Now, I will admit that Ben's set needs work from an editing clips perspective, and it's not very nice on the eyes, but I will choose Ben Avery's podcast over Tom's any day. I respect that Ben seems to say 100% of how he really feels about someone and speaks the truth regardless of career consequences, and there have been many. He has at least some integrity, and whether I agree with everything he says or not, it is refreshing in a comedy scene full of liars and pretenders to see someone just tell it like it is. Modern media doesn't tend to talk about the selfishness of divorce when you have young children and the impact it will inevitably have on them. And Ben straight up calls Tom out because what kind of a husband and father who is already wealthy beyond belief needs to tour nonstop? And what kind of a father would choose to tour all year, leaving their cancer-stricken wife to do all the child rearing? The answer is not a good one. That is a selfish, narcissistic dad. And we know this because he has enough wealth to collect cars and watches. Anyone who can become a collector of anything is not working to secure their kids' future. They have generational wealth they will never run out of. There is truly an epidemic in Hollywood of these terrible absentee fathers who use providing for their children as an excuse, ironically, to abandon them their whole upbringing. These are the fathers like Brendan Schaub, Brian Callen, Joe Rogan, and Bert Kreischer, men who want nothing to do with their wives or children and who will do anything in their power to be away from them. We need to call it out because it breeds resentful, lost children with complex attachment issues that affect their relationships for the rest of their lives. All of these men were born into wealth already, so it's simply not possible they could have ever needed to tour this much to support a family. They always were comfortable. I genuinely believe that these men hate women, still see them as objects for their gratification, and cannot seem to be in healthy relationships with any because they never try to respect or understand them. And Tom is the poster boy for this. Now let's watch Ben Avery go off on Tom for clearly having never read a book, and then I'll show you a clip from the only time Tom got called out publicly for touring so much with young kids at home, which was from an episode of Your Mom's House with guest Al Franken.
Enjoy hell. Wish she had read a book. Wish she had read one book that tells the story of a guy who chased fame and fortune at the expense of his friends and family and ended up completely alone and miserable and like dead. If only you had seen one movie, or read like a book once, and you could have gone, "Oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, I'm doing that." I even saw a clip where like Al Franken's like, these kids are 4 and 6. What are you doing? And Tom's just sitting there like, clearly wants to rip Al Franken's vocal cords out of his liberal neck.
You tour
like a maniac.
I know. Well, I can ask you about that.
Yeah.
Okay. You have 2 kids. How old?
Yep.
6 and 4.
Okay. So this is like almost like abusive, right? How much he tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And that's an issue. Is that an issue?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what will you talk about it?
Oh, on air on this show? No, but in private, yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's terrible.
Why don't you talk about it on there? Okay, how old are the kids again?
4 and 6.
Oy.
Yeah.
Okay. 4 and 6.
You like your fucking life, Christina?
Mad respect to Al Franken for speaking absolute facts. And do you notice how the second you call these men out for being absentee fathers, they get angry and try to blame their wives? They try to deflect blame, and it's because Tom knows he doesn't have a valid excuse, because there isn't one, as no one on earth needs to tour that much to support their lifestyle. But society accepts this excuse where men blame their wives by pretending it's her lavish spending that is forcing him to have to work so much away from his kids. But we know this couldn't be further from the truth, as studies show mothers spend money on the family, groceries, and the home, and husbands spend on less practical things, let's say. And we know this is true with Tom, especially because look at his own lavish spending. Forget about the fact that this mid-tier comedian thinks he needs a tour photographer and personal trainer on tour with him at all times, which I don't see Christina doing. But I also don't see Christina buying lavish watches or spending extravagantly on designer clothes or car collections. Yet we all see Tom do those things. So perhaps we all need to update the lie that it is the wife to blame for these type of men choosing to tour nonstop. It is never the wife. It is always about the man's selfish desire for more status, more stuff, and more praise from audiences. Ironically, no amount of stuff or adoration will ever fill the giant hole in their hearts due to growing up themselves with absentee fathers. And how disrespectful can you be to say to your wife, who is literally on the same podcast as you, making what should be equal pay to you, that you need to tour for her to have this life? Like, bitch, she's working for her own life as we speak. Are you forgetting that? Men like them just don't give a shit about their kids, and the kids are going to suffer as a result. Take a look.
He's like, they're 4 and 6. You only get them at this, like, especially when kids are this young. It's such a if you have the opportunity to hang out with them an enormous amount of time, not doing that is one of the greatest sins, because the more time you spend with them, I mean, all the tests, all the studies show like higher IQ, a higher amount of success, lower risk of depression. I mean, everything. The most extraordinary thing you can do with your child is just hang out with them. Just be with them. Just hang out with them. If you did all of this so you wouldn't have to have a boss, and then you act like you're like, well, I gotta, you don't have to do anything. You're the boss. You tell you when to go work. What are you doing that for? Why are you stealing all of these precious gems from your life and throwing them out your window into the street? Why are you doing that? I don't know why people do that. I don't know why people think money is so great. At that level, right? At that level. At that level. I get it. I get it. I'm talking like, I can't. If I make 30 million this year, I'll kill myself. I have to make 50. That is what I don't get. What a tragic thing. What a tragic thing that for your kids not to have. It's hard on folk. I don't think we should accept that as like sometimes it's good. No, it's never good, because you don't matter anymore once you have kids. Only the kids matter. You got to do stuff for your kids, and you got to love them and provide for them and for your wife in the way that they need to be provided for, not the way in which you choose to provide and love them. Because now you're just, and I know, look, it's a little bit Reddit, but I'm going to go into it. Now you're just doing the Walter White thing, where at the end, you admit you did it all for you. You didn't do it for your family. You wanted another Rolex. You wanted to buy a helicopter. You did it for you.
Ultimately, I think Tom and Christina are getting a divorce because Tom wants to be around a little less Christina and a little more Chris, but I think Ben has made really good points about raising kids and how important it is to be present as a parent. As Tom himself is an excellent example of what happens when you don't have a present father growing up. He is constantly looking for validation and seems to need attention more than he needs love or empathy. That is not healthy, and it is not okay for the kid's sake or his now ex-wife's sake. Tom needs to drop the embarrassing midlife crisis act and get the fuck involved in his kids' lives before it's too late, because he has very hyperactive young boys, and that goes south so fast without proper family support, structure, and discipline. And I don't give an F if he was happy. You suck it up for the sake of the kids, because guess what? Every single study on Earth proves 2 parents in the home results in better outcomes for the children in every metric. Obviously, I'm not suggesting families stick together when there is abuse or violence, but short of that, you could have stuck around for the sake of your kids and to be supportive to the woman who supported you for the last 18 years. The trauma from their parents getting a divorce will never leave them, and it was a fundamentally selfish decision Tom made so he could live the lifestyle he wants to, aka a gay one. And it would be nice for a change to see a famous man not become immediately corrupted by stardom and ditching their wives immediately after. I think Ben really hit the nail on the head by pointing out that men like Tom, who are absentee fathers who tour nonstop, are doing it for themselves no matter how much they argue they're doing it for their family. They are Walter White. They've just learned that the men that are their fans accept that it's okay to not be a present father because the kids have money. But kids don't want money. They want love, and you cannot love them if you choose to be away from them during their most formative years. You just can't. I definitely think Ben is right about Tom Segura being an unfeeling shark, and I think he toured so much specifically to avoid his family. But what do you think? Do you think Tom is an absentee dad? Let me know, and thank you so much for watching.